Hello, everybody out there, and welcome to another episode of the Talk That Talk Show with me, Barry Holmes. And we just finished up watching the Knicks game here on a Tuesday night, and I'm just so happy that the Knicks got another dub. I think when we talked before, literally about this New York Knickerbocker team, one of the things that we talked about before was just how we were going to be receptive to the trade that happened between RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly to get and acquire OG Anunoby. And I did get a chance to see OG in the Garden, and over these last couple games, from what we've seen from the New York Knicks with this trade, I've seen a much more dangerous team. And I know the Knicks were just playing the Portland Trailblazers, but what I'll say is this: the New York Knicks have increasingly gotten better defensively. I know we marketed this guy OG Anunoby as a defensive stopper, but today I think we really got a chance to see that three part of the 3 and D. And when I saw OG in his first game in the Garden, he made 3 threes, and then I think today he made something like 4 threes in the Garden. So in his first couple games and playing in Madison Square Garden, at least it doesn't seem that OG Anunoby has shied away from that New York City spotlight. And I hate to say it, but it doesn't seem like one person would change so much about what we've seen from the New York Knicks. But just the presence of OG Anunoby has helped out with the floor spacing tremendously. There'd be times where RJ Barrett would be on the same side as the ball, and a lot of dribbling with the head down. And what we see from OG Anunoby is he's always dribbling to try and create for someone. And if he's doing something, it's always a direct movement, right? So you're not really going to get too much wasted movement from OG. And, it seems like, there has really not been a dip in chemistry from what we've seen in the Knicks in these last, I think, 4 games. And this last win against the Portland Trailblazers for the Knicks was their second wire-to-wire victory in a row. And what we've seen from the Knicks in previous seasons before is that normally the third quarter is the New York Knicks Achilles heel, and to be able to see that the effort level has not dropped from whoever's come in on the court once that starting unit has come out, that's given Tom Thibodeau a tremendous amount of confidence in those role players. I was very critical of Deuce McBride. I was like, why did they give this guy $13 million? But in the last 2 games, he's shown us a slight side of offense that could be useful for the Knicks moving forward. And maybe they saw something in practice from the limited amount of action that he's taken so far this season. But, it seems as though the role players for the Knicks are embracing their roles. And from that, we've seen the increase in success to where the Knicks are being talked about as not only one of the hottest teams in the NBA, but potentially one of the Eastern Conference contenders in taking that next step. So I will be the first to admit that I was definitely apprehensive as far as this first trade that went through for the Knicks. But everything that I'm keep reading, leads to what Pops had said previously about how the Knicks may potentially not be done getting some trades in. So, I know they're trying to add another scorer that could create for himself. I don't know whether that's going to be to be in the starting lineup or to add something to the bench coming off the bench. But what I saw from the Knicks was today, and especially was the amount of bench scoring that the Knicks have gotten from their bench scorers, whether it was Deuce McBride, whether it was just guys like I was to say Quentin Grimes as well too, who came in and splashed a couple threes. Josh Hart, who's rebounding the basketball like crazy coming off the bench. You got guys that when the bench unit comes in, they're helping so that there's no dip in quality of basketball for the Knicks. So, I don't want to jump the gun too fast again, but I wanted to make sure that I watched this game in its entirety before I gave you guys a little synopsis about what happened. But, again, from what I've seen from the Knicks, if you are a Knicks fan, you can rock your blue and orange proudly because, from what we've seen from the Knicks defensively and offensively, it leads anything for me to believe that, this team does have the chance to potentially contend. And, with the addition of OG Anunoby, it's undoubtedly made this New York Knickerbockers team way more productive. And if you do not know what's been happening here in the New Jersey area, we have a tremendous storm going on right now. A lot of people that should be bowling tonight on Tuesday night, like myself actually, our league got canceled tonight because of this storm that we have going on. Now, at first, I know when Governor Murphy called the state of emergency, I'm like, for a little bit of rain? Like, is it this serious? But, just literally sitting in my house and, hearing the winds from outside. The winds are tremendously big going on right now. Like, I can hear the whistling, the flooding that could potentially happen. It's not something that you should be out in right now. So, if you do not have to leave the house in the Jersey area, definitely don't, stay inside, stay safe. Because at the end of the day, you got to make sure that, you're okay so that you can, go on forward and be productive in the next day. So as much as I would have liked to bowl tonight, we had to take it easy and, stay safe from this storm. So everyone else that's tuned in that New Jersey area, make sure you guys are staying safe from this storm. We got Rob that says, I lost power for a minute. Be careful out there. Yeah, hopefully, your power is back, Rob. But I'll say this. I was excited coming into today, before we found out that bowling was canceled because, actually in a way I was a little bit sad as well too, because I come to, the realization with me and my brother that, the Tuesday night league that we were in currently was just something, that in a way we had felt that we had outgrown, and I think that in a way, looking back on the league, looking towards things that entice me when trying to get into a bowling league, I like to have a chance to, win and lose some money, right? The ability to have some pots in leagues is something that entices me. And then also, the skill level of other competitors around us. I feel as though, from when I joined the NJ Northwest and the UBA, and decided to challenge myself, that's when I saw that I started to elevate my play and I started to see, some depth in my bowling game from being challenged. So, I think that, everything has its time and purpose. And for this Tuesday night league, Pavlenko's Pro Shop Doubles, if you're someone that's, looking to, get reps, get better and have the chance to, try different things out, I think the Pavlenko's Pro Shop Doubles is something that's great. It's a great option. You get in, get out, and you get to try and work on your game. But I think, like I said, when I talked to my brother, where we're at right now, we're not only trying to work on our game, but we're trying to capitalize on it and, take a step up and play. And, I always talked before, I joined the X League, but I said that I always wanted to bowl a team with Tim, who I'm on staff with at Ink Parlor. And when the opportunity came up to potentially join the Monday Night League instead with Tim and my brother, it was an opportunity that I felt like I couldn't pass up. And I feel as though in the overall, larger scale picture, too many times I feel like we stay in things so long because it's comfortable for us, right? It was just comfortable for me and my brother to come to this Tuesday night league for the last 5-6 years, and we got accustomed to that same routine. And I think that again, a change on day to go to Monday night with a little bit bump up in competition, a little bit of a bump up in pots as well too, to where you can get a little chance at some brackets, some eliminators, and different things that we don't have in that Tuesday night league. So I'm excited to, we bowled in this league previously, but we said that we weren't going to come back to the Monday night unless we had a team that we knew could compete. And I think a combination of me and my brother Timmy Hugel, I'm excited to try that team out, and I'm excited to try and embrace new things. I think that when we stray away from trying out different things and try and talk ourselves out of making certain changes, I think that's when we do a disservice to ourselves and aid and impede, and we impede on our own growth. So for me, I thought long and hard about it, and talked with my brother, and we said, hey, we want to take this next step up in competition, and let's get it going. So I'm excited when we do come back next Tuesday to finish up this season. And one of the things that me and my brother were super pumped about was to hopefully accomplish our goal of coming within the top 5 to end this first half of the season. So our goals are still reachable. We've still seen an increase in our games, and again, sometimes making those little changes and switching things up is all that you need to take the next step. So we got a couple big tournaments lined up coming up. I know we have the state tournament, which is going to be held at Strathmore Lanes this year. So if you're a bowler, and again, we talk about challenging ourselves, definitely take a look into the info on how you could submit a team for the New Jersey State Tournament. It's one of those tournaments that I really do enjoy. I love challenging myself. We were able to place in a team event last year, and I'm hoping to do it again this year. And then also super excited to do an unholy this year. Going to be doing, I think, 3 slots. I'm going to be bowling my pops, TK, and a couple females in there as well too. So I'm excited. We definitely got some big things in store, and things just don't stop, man. The grind continues, and I think that this is a great segue because for a lot of NFL teams, their season has concluded. But for those select few, the grind continues. And I think this is a great time to talk about a little bit about this NFL preview of the playoffs going on, right? So first and foremost, I would like to go over this playoff bracket for you guys and give you guys a little bit of my predictions and what I'm kind of thinking about, both as a fan and as someone as a bettor, and try and give you guys some things that you can kind of look for with this upcoming weekend. And first things first, I would love to talk a little bit about these first 2 teams that earned themselves a first round bye. In my opinion, the Baltimore Ravens at number 1 in the AFC. They've really exceeded boundaries, and amidst all the types of things that have happened throughout their team, they've continued to stay consistent. And, that rushing attack that we always talk about with them being, a run-first team, we've really seen them take a next step in the pass game with Lamar Jackson. And really, he's put up some superb MVP-type numbers. And, when Lamar's healthy, this team is dangerous. And we saw they kind of did what they could, maximize what they could without a healthy Lamar last year. But what we're seeing this year from them is them being serious Super Bowl contenders. So, if you're thinking that the Ravens are a fluke, you'd be sadly mistaken. This team is for real. And I'd love to see, what matchup they're going to have going into this next round. On the NFC side of things, I think the 49ers, whether you're talking AFC or NFC, it's probably the most dangerous team in the NFL. For the same things that we could talk about with the Baltimore Ravens, the 49ers seem to do it just a tad bit better, right? When it comes to the passing game, Brock Purdy, aside from maybe a couple games, has done a great job of, holding on to the football, making good decisions, and maximizing the skill positions on offense from the 49ers. And, when you have a guy in Christian McCaffrey who's, the ultimate stud, whether he's running or catching the ball, just makes your offense extremely dangerous. And I think that for a team that's going to come out of the NFC, you're going to have to put up 30 to 35 points. And, when I think about it, there's only a couple real teams on that NFC side of things that I think that could truly compete with the 49ers. And, coming into this first matchup on the AFC side of things, we got the Bills versus the Steelers. I think this is a situation where the Steelers are just excited to have another win season with Tomlin, with them, finishing to get to the playoffs. I think it was a great boost from whatever that team has went through as far as cycling quarterbacks, not really having stability at that quarterback position. But they've still found a way to win, relied on their defense. But I think the overall health of their defense and a lack of consistency at that quarterback position will expose them in the playoffs. I think that when you're in the regular season, you can get by with just having enough. But when it's the playoffs, you need to ball out. And right now, the Bills are probably the hottest team, and that's why the odds have swayed for them to potentially be Super Bowl champions. And I think that the Steelers have run into a buzzsaw that they are unable to match. The Bills can score points. Their defense, as they showed against the Dolphins last week, is elite. It's enough to win a championship. It's enough to get past the AFC. So, unless the Steelers miraculously turn into the Super Bowl teams that Ben Roethlisberger led last year, I think this is going to be a first-round exit for the Steelers. And I may be even enticed to take the Bills' point spread, whatever that looks like right now. Then on the dangerous side of things, guys, we got the Cowboys versus the Packers. Man, I think this is dangerous for the Cowboys. I think their only saving grace here is that, with them having a home game, Dak Prescott has been, pretty much solid at home. You can get great games from him. CeeDee Lamb, guaranteed 100-yard receiver. They're just, the Cowboys, when they're good, they're good. But unfortunately, what we've seen from the Cowboys has been inconsistency in the playoffs, all right? And what we've seen from the Packers is, that same inconsistency throughout the season, but what they've seen is, over these last couple weeks, they are playing their best football, and they've earned themselves into this wild card position. And I think if the Cowboys take the Packers lightly, they could see themselves on a first-round exit. But I think if the Cowboys can stick to what they do best, rely on that defense to, get themselves off the field, then I think the Cowboys can handle business, and then they can kind of, move on to the next round. But if the Cowboys look ahead past, this game against the Packers, Jordan Love, again, has been playing some great football, and, the numbers don't lie. The Packers are dangerous. So, when I'll say this, Cowboy fans, don't hold your breath, all right? I'll say this to the same thing as my Chiefs faithful out here. This Chiefs-Dolphins game is dangerous. I love the Chiefs, but we have not looked dangerous at all. We've looked very human. We look like we're going out there trying to survive games, when last year it looked like the Chiefs were looking to dominate games. And, we can't overlook the drop passes. We can't overlook and make excuses for Patrick Mahomes because he has not played his best football. I'd be lying to you and being a straight homer if I said that I felt confident going into this next game against the Dolphins. But I think with the weather being super cold, maybe it gives the Chiefs that little bit of edge against the Dolphins. Maybe the Dolphins having that problems against those teams that are over 500. Maybe that plays into it for us. But, I think the Chiefs have a very difficult game with this Dolphins because, the Chiefs defense has been very good this year. That's been the one bright spot, even going through the contract issues with getting Chris Jones signed at the beginning of the season. We weathered that storm defensively, but, this Chiefs team is going to have to score some points. And if Miami figures it out against the Chiefs and this turns into the shootout that it could be, I don't think that the Chiefs have the firepower in years past to go into a shootout with the Miami Dolphins. I just don't think it's possible. So, if the Chiefs are going to advance to this next round, it's going to be on the shoulders of the defense. Too often, Patrick Mahomes has, vaulted this team and kind of put them on their back. But the defense has been they've been the rock for the Chiefs all year. And that's what's going to have to happen if the Chiefs are going to continue to move forward in the next round. So, it's a toss-up, man. I love my Chiefs, but it's a toss-up. Then, man, this is a dangerous matchup. You got the Lions against the Rams. Man, get your popcorn ready. I think that's going to be the game of the weekend. Lions against the Rams. A lot of people, again, say that it's not the best team in the playoffs. It's the hottest team at times. And you'd be a fool if you counted out Matt Stafford, who just a couple years ago won a Super Bowl. And he's got more weapons now with Puka, and Kyron Williams, who's running the ball really well. If the Lions are just super happy to be there and, happy that they had their first division since the early 1990s, the Lions can find themselves as early exits. And Jared Goff, although has played well the last game, he's not impenetrable. We've seen that Jared Goff has struggled in parts of this season. But, if we get the Lions team that we think we're supposed to get, this should be a win. But you can't count out the arm talent of Matthew Stafford. We've seen this guy gunsling his team back into games. And, not to mention, that Rams defense is still pretty decent. It's not elite like that Super Bowl caliber that it was before, but it's still serviceable. And to think that the Lions have a shoo-in game against the Rams, you'd be sadly mistaken. So, my heart wants me to go with the Lions, but somehow, some way, my mind's telling me that Rams is a good pick. So, out of all the picks this year, this postseason, I think that Rams over Lions is definitely something you should look into if you're a person that likes to bet. And then, on the other side of things, I think another great AFC matchup. A tale of the new school versus the old school. You got the Houston Texans, who are riding the shoulders of C.J. Stroud, having one of the best rookie seasons in NFL history. With a guy, a bunch of guys that, have earned a name for themselves, earned the respect throughout this season. The Texans are a team that is dangerous, and especially going up against the Browns, who are going to have to go into the Dome and play against, the Texans. I think this is a game that could, spell danger for the Browns. All right. I know that Joe Flacco has been balling right now. He's been doing his thing. But what if the Texans play as if they've played all year long? They've been playing well at home. Nobody's been able to stop them through the air. And I think that the Texans are a team that could be dangerous. And if it came down to it, they can beat that Browns defense. That Browns defense is stout. It's one of the best in the NFL. But if it comes down to it, the Texans have the firepower to potentially get into a shootout with Joe Flacco. And I think that it's crazy for us to even say about a shootout with Joe Flacco. But like Ish says, the Texans are good, but they have some injuries, C.J. Stroud just came back off injury, but, he balled out. But is he 100%? I'm not sure yet, but I think that, this Texans-Browns matchup is really going to be, it might even come down to who has the ball last. I wouldn't be surprised if it came down to that, because, both teams do great things on both sides of the ball, and it's just a dangerous matchup, man. That's what I think that makes this playoff run so great and what makes the NFL such a great league because, to get to the playoffs, you got to be elite. And once you get to the playoff round, what you don't do well will get exposed, right? So we will truly find out if the Browns are as good as we say they are, and we will find out if C.J. Stroud has the gumption to take his team and lead him to the next round of the playoffs. I'm going to bring my popcorn. It's going to be a great matchup. And then finally, I saved this one for last because, a lot of people want to jump on this bandwagon of, hey, the Eagles, they're struggling. They're struggling. It's obvious. They just got smacked by the Giants, who are super doo-doo, right? But you can't deny the fact that the Eagles, they have what it takes. They have the pieces. But unfortunately, we talk about this and we say that it's not always the best team, it's the hottest team. And if you're a bettor, this is an absolute nightmare to try and bet on between the Eagles and the Bucks. Because here you have the Eagles who have kind of stumbled into the playoffs, where potentially they could have locked up the division if they would have beat the Cardinals. And now they slide to have to go on the road and go into Tampa Bay to play a playoff game where you got a Jalen Hurts who showed he's got a broken finger or whatever that looks like. It was disgusting. So now, you don't know the health of the Eagles. We saw that injury with A.J. Brown. Two of your key guys on offense, you don't know if they're 100% in the first round of the playoffs. And then you talk about on the other side where, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who have been playing better. It's going to be interesting. We got my boy who says Jalen Hurts will rise to the occasion. I truly do hope so. I do. Because I think that the Eagles do deserve, to get at least past this round. But to say that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is a shoe-in game, you'd be sadly mistaken. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have Baker Mayfield, who has, if you put the stats up, has had potentially better stats than Patrick Mahomes this year. You can't say enough about what Baker's done there. Quietly, Mike Evans has another 1,000-yard season. Might have just potentially gotten himself into Canton once his career's done. But, with what they have with him and Chris Godwin, the defense playing the way they are still, they just shut out the NFL Carolina Panthers last week. So if you look at it, in my opinion, that Tampa Bay defense is much better than the Giants defense was. And that Giants defense, held the Eagles to damn near nothing. If they did, it was nothing, right? So it's going to be a very interesting game. I think that this, again, on the NFC side of things is a nightmare to try and bet. But I like, what my boy said also, Diversity is Dope says, Mike Evans going to go for 200 receiving yards on Eagles secondary. I really like Mike Evans to maybe have over 100 yards receiving or take him to be an anytime touchdown receiver. It always seems like in those big-time games when Tampa Bay needs him, Mike Evans just finds a way to step it up and find a way to get something done. So, that's really our NFL preview here. Hopefully you can take some of that advice and some of those things that I said and use it and apply it to some of your parlays and some of your picks going into this weekend. But yeah, if you do get a chance, also we're going to be launching a different part on Cloud9 Instagram. We're going to be doing again Barry's Corner, where I give you guys a little bit of review and give you some suggestions on what you should try out at the store. And I'll tell you right now, if you do get a chance to go to Cloud9 Dispensary, located on Route 22, definitely get yourself one of those Berry Tart 1 gram pre-rolls. It's testing it, I think, like 31%. The terps are, I think it's like over 1.5% terps or something like that. It had great taste. Gave me the punch in my chest that I was looking for. If you're looking for a great, pre-roll, definitely check out over at Cloud9 Dispensary. That would be my pick of the week. Get yourself a Berry Tart. I stand back and I marvel because we talk about this podcast and just how much it means to me on a weekly basis. But what I appreciate and what really propels me forward and gives me the confidence to come out here, and talk to you guys on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. But the tremendous amount of support that you guys give me on any given night, it's incredible. And to see the effect that we've had, not only in the bowling alleys but outside of the bowling alleys, to the point that we're sponsored from Cloud9 Dispensary. We're really trying to elevate this podcast beyond just this microphone, beyond just the volume knob that you use to turn this podcast up. I really want this to bleed into lifestyle, man. And when you put on a piece of Talk That Talk Show apparel, when you're talking with your friends and you talk about something that you heard on the episode, it just speaks to the longevity that we've had here with this podcast, and we're not stopping. We're gonna keep this head of steam moving, and I just get excited, man. Every time it gets time to come here on the podcast, I try to fit everything I can into the episode, everything that I want to talk about, and you guys continue to stay patient with me, patient with my work schedule, patient with being able to record this whenever I can. But the tremendous amount of consistent support that you guys have given me, I can never repay you all, man. So whether you're tuned in on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, my job, my responsibility is to give you all my unfiltered thoughts every single week. And if I'm not doing my job, then, what am I doing, right? So, I don't take this podcast lightly. I've seen so many people start things and fail because they don't have the heart, the tenacity, the passion to continue forward and do it, every single week, or to continue on to put the work in to complete that project. And I'm here to say that I haven't completed this project with the Talk That Talk Show, and I'm nowhere near completion. But what I can say is that, the consistency is still, burns within my heart. I still have a desire to get better, to find different things to increase and maximize this show. And, here in 2024, you're going to continue to get the best of the best with the Talk That Talk Show. So I love you guys. Please stay safe in this storm that we have outside. Don't drive if you have to. And just stay dry, man. This is the Talk That Talk Show every single week, giving you guys my unfiltered thoughts. I love you all. Tell a friend. Check us out at talkthattalkshow.com. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. We have so many routes of avenues for you on social media. It's just a matter of how you want to choose to check out this show, man. So thank you again. Rob says, great show, brother. I appreciate you so much for tuning in. I love you all. Rewind this back if you want to, get some info on some of those picks. And make sure you choose wisely on NFL weekend, man. I love you all, and see you all next week.